Welcome to Higher Ed Athletics presented by Pilotics. I am joined by the Coastal Carolina Vice President and Athletic Director, Chance Miller. Chance, thanks for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I want to talk about something that your debut of your acting career, the Chance Feast Free. Can you kind of talk about like that kind of took the world by storm a little bit last fall? Can you just maybe tell people like the inner workings of how that idea came about? And then on the back end, we'll talk about whether it was a good idea looking back. I know you probably evaluated it.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago when I was at the University of South Carolina, we were trying to find ways to draw attendance or better attendance to our men's and women's basketball games in that late November, early December timeframe when students are taking finals or leaving to go home for their holiday break. Still got SEC football going on. So it was really, how do we get them out to be able to see the team? And then how do we get more information to people that we can target for season tickets, single game tickets, mini packages, things like that. So I threw out the idea of why don't we give them free concessions? You bring the family of four, you're not having to constantly pull out your wallet or pull out your credit card and pay for everything. So we did it. We did it for the probably 6 games between the two of the sports, and tripled and quadrupled the attendance in most games. And we were able to build upon that, sell a lot of single game tickets to people once conference play happened. And we sold out a lot more games than we had done the previous year. And what we found is, when people don't have to pay for the free concessions, they buy more alcohol, more specialty items. You get more revenue on parking and ticket sales. And so it worked out pretty well. And, that was probably 11 to 12,000 people a game at that point in time. So when I came to Coastal, we were looking at our football stadium and we had 22,000 it's packed. And I thought, we could do this with football as well. So started doing the math, worked with our Airmark partner, which our Airmark partner here is really good. People really willing to work with us and help us on that. We implemented it and rolled it out. Now, I didn't realize that we were rolling it out the day before April Fool's. So everybody thought it was an April Fool's joke. And I think that caught on with any more attention. I also wouldn't put myself in a video if I would have known it was going to be shared so many times. I would put somebody else with a little more acting chops in there. But it went well. I mean, if you look at it, our first game was against Charleston Southern, an FCS opponent, which traditionally our FCS game did not sell very well. And Charleston Southern was not coming off of a very good year, not a very good opponent that you would bring in and start selling tickets. And we had our highest attendance in Brooks Stadium ever. And if you look throughout the year, we set attendance records every game. We had a ton of people come in, and we were able to get new season ticket sales. I think the year before, our season renewal rate was not very good. I was happy with where it went. Looking back on it, there were a few things, just operationally that we tweaked a little bit and have learned from that. And we plan on doing it again moving forward.
Yeah, and as a dad with 3 kids, you're always trying to get them to events, but that you think about the prices like you talked about. So that's a good way to get more younger fans in and families. You all also do a great job of some random halftime shows or things going on. I saw like the a war reenactment. How do you come up with those type of ideas?
We sit around in the off season, like right now. We actually just came off of a meeting with my marketing team and my creative team, and myself and my deputy AD, Andy Humes, and sit around and think of things that would draw people in, that would be creative. I challenged everybody that, hey, for each home game, let's see if we can have a viral moment where people are talking about Coastal Carolina, talking about the Chanticleers. And I think 5 of the 6 went viral. We had Medieval Times, which is a big show here in Myrtle Beach. We had them come out and do a halftime performance. And I think our mascot actually came out in all this gear with a sword. And I think it was CBS Sports tweeted out they just watched our mascot kill a man on the 50-yard line. And so that caught on pretty well. And then we had the Revolutionary War reenactment in the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War. is this year, and the SC 250 had some sponsorship dollars that they wanted to be able to share that, and we'd love to do this. Are you good with it? And so we brought them out and kind of rehearsed a little bit. Something pretty cool, and had a drone show this year. Just a lot of different things that I think attracted people to the games. And what we're trying to do here, you know, we're a fairly new university and a new football program, right? And we have one of the biggest growing populations in the country. I mean, we're in an area that it's one of the fastest growing counties and the fastest growing state in the country. And we're trying to give those people that are relocating a local team that they can latch on to, come in here and attend our games and get behind the Charlotte Glitters.
Yeah, and I've been to campus twice. I think it's beautiful. I vacationed in the area one time, so that's why I came down. Not far from Myrtle Beach at all, and so you've got this or beautiful location. And I know there's a lot of things going on, like the football facility that was just going in, like starting whenever I visited there, so it wasn't even completed yet. And so, kind of to go with that growth of FBS football, right, is you all taking that next step, and so exciting times at Brooks Stadium and at Coastal Carolina in general. It's just a beautiful campus, bricks everywhere. It really doesn't feel like it's only like from the 1950s, or I think it was in the like it's like 50 something years old or something.
Yeah,
But it's got
1954, and
that
then
old feel.
yeah, became independent in the 1970s. So, it's fairly new, but the growing area and the growing campus, and our involvement keeps growing. Years ago, it was a school of 3,000 to 4,000 people, and now we're looking at being over 13,000 students next year. I mean, applications just keep going up. So it's a place where people want to move and want to be, and we're trying to give them entertainment to be able to come out and do that.
Before we get back to the show, I want to tell you about a new partnership I have with Onrise. So, for those that aren't aware, first 10 years of my career, I was actually a student athlete academic advisor. Mental health concerns and the betterment of student athletes has always been top of mind. So, finding a partner with the podcast where I don't really get to talk about that part of my life as much has been really helpful to kind of just showcase the great support that you can get. If you support student athletes, you know that mental health resources can be hard to implement, even harder to scale. Onrise provides complete mental health coverage, but built specifically for your athletes. With one call, programs can launch same-day access to peer support from retired athletes, licensed clinicians, and 24/7 crisis care. It costs less than hiring one full-time staff member, with no hiring hassles and no initiative fatigue for your department. To learn more, visit onrise.care. That's ONRISE.care. Now let's get back to the interview. Yeah, and the penny sales tax is something that I know former President Benson always appreciated, and he had thanked me when I came that he's like, you probably got lunch or something in the area, so thanks, because it was helping with the facility project on campus. And kind of that's my transition to talk about your presidential transition. So Michael Benson, now the president of West Virginia, but he hired you. I know you think really highly of him. A lot of people do. He's been on the podcast twice and will be again at some point with West Virginia. But thinking tactical, president turnover is quicker than AD tenure. Not long before, but a lot of ADs are going to have more than one president, and it might not be the one that hired you for most of your tenure. So, what did that handoff look like as far as like? There's a lot going on in athletics. I mean, so how did you kind of onboard that new president, and then how are you two kind of meshing with ideas and changes after that transition, not long after you took over the reins of the athletic department?
Yeah, as an athletic director, you're always kind of prepared for that you're probably going to work for more than one president. And Mike was great. Mike gave me my first opportunity as an athletics director. And I loved working with Mike Vinci. Still talk to Mike. Mike and I probably text once a week. His family, they're still here because their daughter was finishing up high school this year, this was last year, so didn't want to move her. So I still see his wife and kids out, and it was a good move for him when West Virginia came open. I told him, I said, I'm both happy for you and mad at you. I only got to spend really 6 to 7 months with Mike as my president. So that's always, something you worry about, like how's this transition going to go? But, when I made this move to Coastal Carolina, I made it not only for Mike, but also the board. I got to meet with a lot of the board of trustees and Mike and realized that it wasn't just Mike that wanted to move ahead and grow and really invest in athletics. It was also the board of trustees. And so I knew the board was still here and still behind me. And I got lucky. The board chair at the time, she came to me and asked me to be on the presidential search. So, as a brand new athletics director, to be on a presidential search and get to interview people and see which one would be a good fit was a blessing for me. We hired Jamie Weinbrake. He was at Wilmington and very similar institutions and was a provost there. And so I knew this was going to be his first time as a president as well. And I really tried to think about, coming in as a first time athletics director, what are the things that I wish I would have known walking in the door and tried to prep him for that. And what was nice about it, he came in and we hired him, and the transition of him coming in and Mike going out just happened to coincide. That crossover coincided us being in Omaha. So in the suite, we had President Benson and President Weinbrake, and I got to spend a lot of time with really talk about, how that transition was going to go. And Mike was great to me in terms of talking to Jamie about the things that I'd already done while I was here and the things that I wanted to do. So we got to spend a lot of quality time and realized quickly that I was going to get along with Jamie really well. He spent a lot of time with my family out in Omaha. He was sitting there with my son, giving the umpires a hard time when they miss balls and strikes. And since then, it's been really good. Jamie and I are on the same page. He tells everybody all the time that he wants to invest in athletics and arts. That those are the front porches of the university, and he's backed that up. We meet, once every other week individually, and then we talk pretty much every day or every other day. We just actually went out to Houston for a baseball tournament, and he went out there with us and hung out with us, and so it's been a good transition. But really tried to prep him with these are the things that I wanted to do as an athletics director, and these are the things I had in place, but didn't approach it as, hey, I can't be nimble on this. We can't, that we can pivot based on, what he wants to do as well. And so I think we've got a good plan moving forward.
Yeah, and actually, that one of the days that I visited Coastal Carolina, it was an afternoon, and I spent the morning actually at UNC Wilmington, and so they very much are very similar. The difference that and for your new president is he gets to have a football team, so I'm
Yeah.
sure that was exciting for him. But no, that's great to hear the transition is going well, and even cooler that um, that you were on the search committee and the people that your board seeing how important that is to have the city athletic director engaged in a presidential search. Because I mean, I've talked to some people where like the idea of like what the modern role of an athletic director at your level is a lot more similar to the modern role of a college president right now. And you have their lonely jobs, but they're very visible jobs, very important to the university, the board, the community. And so I think being on that, probably helped you a lot of perspective and probably got the president candidates excited about working with the Shants. So I think that's more people probably need to include their AD on those searches because we have a lot of president openings right now.
I agree with you. I think, you know, most of the stuff that's the most highly visible from a university is coming from athletics most of the time. So if your athletics director and president aren't on the same page, that's not a good, it's not a good sign moving forward.
Yeah, and want to talk about some tactical things. And so, anytime I do a coaching question, I try to incorporate my very uh, awesome sponsor of AD Vantage, and I know they're partnering with Coastal Carolina now as well. And so, this sponsored question is really about your football coaching change. You all made a decision to make a football coaching change after this past season, and ultimately ended up hiring Ryan Beard from Missouri State. Just entering your time as the AD when you started that first football season, how were you evaluating the on-field product, the coaches that ultimately kind of helped you decide, yeah, now is the time to make a change?
Yeah, when I came in, Tim Beck was already the head coach, under contract, had a couple of years on his contract left. And, it had come off of a decent season, an 8-win season where they won the Hawaii Bowl. And coming into the Sun Belt, season the next year, looked at it and, you kind of have a goal of where you want to be. And I thought that first season I was here, we felt really short of. Um, 6 and 7 season. We played in the Myrtle Beach Bowl here at home, and honestly, we'll run out of our own stadium. And when I looked at the end of the year, there were some coaching changes that needed to be made on the staff. Tim and I sat down and we talked about it. He also agreed that we needed to make some changes. But we also weren't a very disciplined program. There were a lot of penalties throughout the year. If you look back on the bowl game, I think we had 7 personal foul penalties at one point. And it wasn't hustle penalties, right? It wasn't holdings or pass interferences. It was false starts, personal fouls, the stuff that you can fix. And so that was going to be the goal going into year 2 was can we, improve upon the assistant coaching hires that we can put some people around the student athletes to be better, where you're going to put more resources into our football program in terms of revenue share and what we were going to do. And we were at the top of the Sun Belt in terms of revenue share and what we provided. And so we had new coaches. We had, the top of the conference in revenue share. And throughout the year, we had some good wins, but our losses, when you looked at it, we just weren't even close. The average points that we were giving up and the points that we were scoring, it was a huge gap in those top teams. The James Madison, the Dominions, we just weren't competitive, and so that's when I decided we needed a change. I didn't see the trend going very well. Tim Beck's a great person, a great coach, and I really enjoyed working with him. I wish him well. He went down to South Florida. He's going to be the offense coordinator there, and I hope he does really well. But I think we needed a change, and we needed some momentum out in the community. I talked a little bit earlier about building that group of people that are going to come in and latch on to the shots and really start to come to our games and give to us and donate to us. And we needed somebody who was going to be out in the community and wanted to go out fundraising. And so really, opened it up. We had a lot of people that wanted this job. I was actually really not surprised, but just at the quality of coaches that wanted this job, whether it was sitting head coaches or top offensive and defensive coordinators. I can tell you our search went a little bit longer than our fans would have liked. It wasn't because we had people dropping out of our search. It was we had multiple people that were in the college football playoff at the time. And so working around people's schedules and bowl games and that, made it a little bit longer. But at the end of the day, Coach Beard just kept rising to the top because I like the fact that he was doing more with less resources. He had come into a program that just wasn't historically very good. And when they were in the FCS, when they came in and then took over, they were in the playoffs each and every year. And then when they transitioned this past year to FBS, which is a very hard transition to make, to be able to take them to a bowl game, that was pretty impressive. And as you dig a little bit more, you see the things that he was able to do to help propel that program into another direction. And I thought he and his family and the makeup would just be really good for our community, and it was the right fit. We interviewed some really good coaches that if I'd have been at other places, I probably would have hired those individuals. But I'm a big person in fit and the need of what you need right then and there in the program. And Coach Beard fit that.
Yeah, I see why a lot of people would want it. I mean, I think it jumped on the map a few years ago when they, had a really good season and surprised a bunch of people. But then we talked about the location. I'm sure that makes some. It's probably not the hardest place to recruit to is that beautiful location. But they do say like ads have a short list of coaches, and I'm not going to say ask necessarily if Ryan Beard was definitely on there, but do you feel like you're more of a short list person or you're more of a institutional lens, like you just mentioned, like, okay, I'm not at South Carolina, this isn't the SEC, I'm not hiring a coach, I'm in the Sun Belt, the Fun Belt, I need this type of coach. It sounds like you went maybe more that, and that might be good advice for people that have this short list like they think they're supposed to do when they're an aspiring AD, but that short list might not translate.
Yeah, there's it's not like I keep a list sitting here in the drawer and I can pull it out at any moment and tell you, hey, here's my five on my list. There are people that you track throughout your career. Young assistants that I've worked with at places and seen come up through the ranks, and you kind of follow along with those people throughout their career. But I think if you're going and in your head you're like, hey, these are the five people I want. Coaching searches can go south on you pretty quick, right? Those five people, four of them might just be using you for a raise at the current place, and the fifth one might get hired by somebody else, right? So I think if you do that, you're putting yourself you're taking yourself into a corner. Now I will tell you, Ryan Beard was one that I have been looking at for a while. I've been kind of just tracking his career. I'm a huge sports fan, so I watch that stuff all the time, right? I've got a son that's getting ready to turn 10 next week that he watches every game. So I sit there and watch a lot of them with him. So you get to see a lot of these coaches, not just in football, but all sports. And so you kind of, file that away in your head and say, well, if I ever have him, that'd be somebody I want to talk to. But I'm big on it's got to be the fit at the institution that you're at. So I'm looking for kind of that fit at each institution, what we need at that time. So it casts a pretty wide net.
We'll shift gears a little bit and ask, when are we going to see the Shants with a uniform patch deal? Maybe I'm not. I know you're not going to breaking news of who it is, but I mean, how are you all approaching that as a department? I've heard people trying to analyze whether it's all sports or sports specific, and it kind of reminds me of back in the day when some athletic departments would let their other sports have different apparel companies, and it versus going all uniform as the same. Is it kind of like that model? How are you approaching it?
Yeah, so we're actually getting ready to announce it next week that we have a new MMR partner that's coming on. So a lot of people that are in current MMR deals have negotiated that to be separate and apart from their current MMR deal. We did not. That helped us get a better MMR deal up front, and a little bit more money up front to be able to have that option for that uniform patch or multiple patches and something on the helmet. I think what we're going to find here is, we've got really good marketable football team. Our men's basketball team is actually doing better than what people are projected this year and have a shot to be in the tournament if we can win a couple of games this weekend. And then our baseball program is one of the premier baseball programs in the country. So I think packaging that all in as to one patch on all the uniforms across the board and all of our shirts is probably going to be more valuable. But we're also looking to maybe do something that's not just a corporate sponsorship, but also something on the equipment that draws attention from a media standpoint and a reach. And it's any secret because they've been tagging me on X and social media platforms like crazy. We had the Snapback Sports guys here a couple of weeks ago on our campus, and we gave them inside access, and it was great. The reach that we got with young people that are applying to our institution was a good thing. And I think, not that we are going to partner with them, but maybe that's a partnership that we look at that can help us get a different reach and a different audience, right? And so it's not just about, okay, this sponsor can pay me X dollars. Can that sponsor also get you in front of eyeballs that, that you wouldn't get otherwise? And so we're looking at a couple different avenues.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing their CEO put on X about like publicly putting offers out there if schools wanted to use them. Right? Is that what you're?
Yeah, he put that out there when they were here. They had talked about if that ever came to fruition, they'd love to be our go-to. But we've talked to them about a couple of different other things. I think there is a partnership. They're actually going to come down here. It'll be announced, I think, tomorrow. They're going to come down here and participate in our spring football game. They're going to have their 7-on-7 game here. It's going to be coached by our coaches, and it's going to be after our spring football game. And they're going to do a couple of contests and everything for our students that'll really bring the students out for our spring game and let them get to see, our new coaching staff in action.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have a Higher Ed Athletics patch on anyone's uniforms anytime soon as an independent podcaster and search firm, but maybe one day. But that'd be interesting to see once I think that strategy of partnering, including that in your MMR is a good idea too. That some people can take with you. Well, I want to. This is called BYOD. It's starting to be a trend of bring your own deputy. And Andy was. I've told you off air. He was my professor in my master's program because he was working at IU compliance, and I think it was the legal sports class. But he was a really good professor, and then he had left. I think then to go to San Diego State. You all were with each other at South Carolina, but we're seeing this more and more. Like I do prediction analysis on who I think some of these ADs are going to be, and I've got a few of them right recently. And I now think that you're going to start seeing more deputies come with the AD, and that being a possibility. Maybe just walk through why you thought it was important to bring someone like Andy with you to Coastal.
Yeah, when I got here to Coastal, I mean, there were great staff that was here. But I still think we're under resourced on the staffing perspective. We're actually, I think we still are. I think we're still trying to add to that. But at the end of the day, I needed somebody that when I'm not here, when I'm out fundraising, when I'm meeting with the president or president's cabinet, that if an issue comes up, I know that person's going to handle it just like I. And I've known Andy for over 15 years now, and we've crossed over. We worked together as deputy ADs in the SEC when he was in Missouri and I was in South Carolina. And then I ended up bringing him to South Carolina to work with me, and help me run the internal side of things in South Carolina. And I just trust him. Andy thinks like I do. He's been in of everything, both on the external and the internal side of athletics. He's got a legal background as well, so I know that he's going to handle a lot of those things that I just can't get to on a day-to-day basis as an athletics director. I think bringing him in here, as soon as he got in here, we hit the ground running a lot quicker than I would if I was trying to teach others, my methods and my thought process. And that doesn't mean you're not going to do that with the rest of the staff. It's just sometimes you get drugged away as an athletics director. Your time is valuable, and if I know that he can handle that stuff that I can't get to, and it's going to be the same way I would have handled it. That's why you're seeing that trend.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like we see people. I've heard people talk about finding someone that has different strengths as the AD, like different, and to try and complement each other. And I could see that being valuable too. But I also see the luxury, because I think you both have that similar background of legal and everything. But the point you just made, you're right. You get drawn away so much. So you want someone that is going to kind of think like you do, knows what you would do in a situation. I feel like try to find that balance at an under-resourced place. Maybe you can't have both the best worlds, or maybe you just don't have any weaknesses and you got all the strengths, right?
No, I got plenty of
So,
weaknesses. Just ask my wife. She has to
well,
deal with a lot of them. But no, at a place like this, when you don't have the luxury to have 3 to 5 deputy ADs, I think you really need a deputy AD that thinks like you, knows what you want to accomplish, and is able to carry it out. The next place we go, whenever that happens, and we have more resources, yeah, I'll bring Andy with me, but I'll probably also bring another deputy AD that has strengths that we don't have, right? That can balance that out. But I think you've got to build your staff the way you have the resources.
well, Chance Miller, Coastal Carolina Athletic Director and Vice President, thanks for joining me on Higher Ed Athletics.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.